if you were on when I announced that we're having technical difficulties on our end too. So currently we're not able to transmit this on channel 96 and YouTube, and so staff are trying to figure that out. It doesn't mean we can't have a meeting, but it means obviously if any members of the public were going to join us that way, that they won't be able to. They'll just see a recording afterwards, unfortunately, but they're working on that.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'm having trouble with video as well, so.
Seeing us, because we can see you.
I know, but it's the wrong camera. I have a much better camera that's brighter.
Okay.
But it's not picking up that camera. So.
Nicole, this is Nico. We are currently streaming.
Oh, thank you. Does that also mean you're recording?
Taylor says yes.
Good, thank you. That's good news. In that case, I believe we are only missing, oh, Mr. Antonori is here too, so I think we have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
You want to do a formal roll call, or we'll just announce that the chairs that we have a quorum?
Let me do the roll call. Chairman Lynn?
Here.
Dr. Lee?
Here.
Mr. Hecker? Mr. Hecker, is your volume on?
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Antonori?
Here.
And Dr. Romero?
Here.
Great, thank you. We do indeed have a quorum. In fact, we have everybody present. I wonder if I could ask Dr. Lee to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'd be honored. I pledge allegiance
to
to the flag
of the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dr. Lee.
You're welcome.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the February 17th minute summary. Are there any additions or corrections to the summary that we should take note of? If not, may I have a motion to approve the meeting summary as presented?
So moved.
I'll give you a motion. Yeah.
And moved and seconded. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. Item 4, data requests from the February 17th meeting. Nicole, you want to take that one?
Sure. So we sent you a memo explaining how we were providing the data that had been requested. So there were 2 specific data requests, one from Mr. Antonori with regard to voter performance in the 2018 and 2020 races that at the federal and statewide level. And although we weren't able to pull that information into our Pima County districtor page, it already existed in the Arizona districtor page that was used for the public as part of the IRC. And those precincts aren't identical to the Pima County precincts because of the adjustments that have recently been made, but those are minor adjustments. So you can go back and forth between that page to see, for example, if you look up the 2018 governor race, you can see how many votes there were for the Democratic candidate and for the Republican candidate and the percentages. And so then you can look at our precincts and use that information. We also, our elections department also put together a spreadsheet with similar information as well as the Pima Community College and Board of Supervisors district races during that time frame. And we emailed that to you and placed it on our website under the data tab. And so before I move on to the second request, were there any comments on the first?
Yeah, thanks, Nicole, for sending that. I got it, and I went through it. And what was really interesting is when you go to the county GIS mapping system, and you look at the precincts based on the GIS mapping system, they don't quite align with the, I guess, the update that the Board of Supervisors did. So you can't do it in real time. Do you know when that's going to happen? When we could see that on the county GIS mapping system, the updated precincts?
I will ask Eric to respond to that because I believe he has a time frame for that.
Nicole and Mr. Antonori, it should be in the Pima Maps mapping system currently.
I went to the county GIS geospatial mapping system for Pima County. Are you referring to a different one, or is that the one that you're talking about?
It should be on, we have what's called the Geospatial Data Portal. Maybe that's where you went, and that should be updated as well. But then there's, we have something called Pima Maps, which is our countywide mapping system that the precinct should also be updated in there.
Okay. There was just some misalignment with the numbers. Also, the spreadsheet, for example, goes up to 248, and yet some of the precincts had numbers like 268, 251, and whatnot like that. So that didn't line. I guess that's what Nicole was talking about, the the number misalignment there. Is that what you were talking about, Nicole? Is there a way we could get that updated? I don't know if you're going to be able to have that voter performance, but I don't know if there's a way to correlate that data from the old to the new and transfer it over. I doubt it. You probably won't be able to do that.
We can certainly take a look between Eric and I. I'll talk with him afterwards, both to make sure Pima Maps and the other one was updated and see what we can do. The new additional precincts are very small, and some of them have no population. So looking at the neighboring precinct, yeah,
249 has 0 population in it. So yeah, there was a couple other that we were looking at that were small.
The new 259 and 256 have 0 population also. So
right.
Let us do some due diligence on that and get back to you.
Thanks. Other than that, I appreciate you getting that info to me. It was very helpful.
Okay, Nicole, the next request.
Sure. So the next request was from Dr. Ramiro for voter performance by race and ethnicity. And although, so we're not able to provide that directly. So when voters register to vote and when they cast ballots, we are unaware of their race and ethnicity. But this is something that our attorneys are looking at as part of the compliance with the Voting Rights Act. And so there is an analysis that's underway right now that uses what is called CVAP data, so citizens voting age population data, as opposed to just voting age population data, which is sort of a better refinement because it doesn't overcount the strength of minorities. And so that information has been added to the standard set of tables that we provide for each option by race and ethnicity. And then the entire spreadsheet for that by voter precinct has just been uploaded to our webpage under the data tab. And the entire data set that the analyst is using in order to conduct this racial block voting analysis for the Voting Rights Act test, that we will be able to get information from that soon. She has just recently gotten that database and is looking through it. And by the next meeting, I think we should have more information.
Mr. Chair, Nicole, is age information available as well?
Not just over 18, but just ages over and under 18 or over in certain blocks, blocks?
Yes.
Yes, we could do that. We could add that to the data. Do you want us to break it by sort of decade?
That probably works. I think that would be a good breakout.
So number of people, ages, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, and so on.
Yes.
Okay.
Just to be clear, Mr. Hecker, you're looking for all of those age groupings rather than just voting age population within the district?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Nicole, any other updates that you have for us?
Not with regard to data, I don't think so.
Okay. Any questions other than the ones already asked of Nicole or staff on the updates that have been requested? If not, are there any additional data requests other than the ones we just talked about to be directed to staff for their work while we deliberate further? Hearing none, let's move to item 5. Item 5 is a discussion of the options, the two original options that were presented by staff to us as a part of the original package. And I believe, Dr. Lee, I think you had some comments on one of the options and some changes that you wanted to see, and those were submitted early on. Is that accurate? I believe I'm accurate in that.
Actually, I wanted to see the standalone options 1 and 2, which is very helpful. What I was looking at is the deviation in numbers, and the option 2 has a deviation in equity numbers of 2.72 for option 2. Option 1 doesn't go far enough. So, in my opinion. Anyway, so I submitted an option 3 and 4 this afternoon for us to discuss.
Okay, and are those variations on option 2, or was that the base that you used?
Yes, some of it's similar, but I did some additional changes as well.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, could I ask a question?
Absolutely, Mr. Hecker.
On 1 and 2, just so I understand, the areas, I'm looking at option 2, the areas that are outlined in blue, does that option mean that area is moving? For example, that's Supervisor District 3. The area outlined in blue is moving from 3 to District 1. Is that correct? Is that
Mr. Chair, Mr. Hecker, other way around. So the color that it is the new district line. So if you're looking at like precinct 14 along the freeway, do you see
Yes.
okay, so precinct 14, it's outlined in blue because it's moved, and it's the color yellow because it's part of District 3. It would be part of District 3 in this map. So it's moved from 1 to 3.
Okay.
And to help you next time around, what we're going to do is also give you a table of the list of precincts that have moved from one precinct to another, so that you'll have that with each map too.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I wonder if would it be helpful, and I'm putting this out to the committee, would it be helpful as we look at these variations on the options that we started with, for these to sort of be lettered? For example, we have option 2 at a base that we've been working off of, and Dr. Lee has presented, I guess now, 3 variations, or just the 2 that you submitted today. Do you want to look at?
Oh, Chair Lynn, I apologize, because last week when we first got it, I was experimenting and accidentally saved it to that whole draft that everybody can see, and those are worthless.
Okay.
Because I was just trying, and I asked if I could get those erased, and the staff, which I understand, said, "Oh, just leave them." So I apologize. So I was
That's fine.
trying to fiddle with it. So today, Nicole sent forward option 3 and 4, and actually I'd like to disregard option 3 and when you see fit, take a look at option 4.
All right. So what I'm trying to do is understand the genesis of each of the options that we're talking about. What I'd like to do then, if you don't mind, Dr. Lee, is when the staff makes those adjustments for us to look at, I'm going to call that option 2A.
Okay.
All right. And I too have some changes that I'd like made to option 2. And for discussion purposes, when we look at those going forward, I'd like to have those designated as option 2B. And I'll submit those this afternoon, Nicole, to you and staff for you to take a look at. And that way we can keep the variations straight. If someone wants to introduce an entirely new map that's not a variation of option 2, then we'll designate that option 3, 4, and 5. But just to be straight with everybody, as we're making modest changes to option 2, let's keep that family of options together to look at, and then we'll go forward with something that someone else wishes to submit. Is that acceptable to everybody?
Mr. Chair, if in making those changes, it's possible to show the changes with a blue line as was done in option 2, that would be helpful. So we can see what change was made to the previous option.
Under each of the variations. And
yes.
I think that's possible, is it not, Nicole? In the same way that option 2 showed the variation from the existing districts. So each one of those options will have a variation in the same manner that's shown on option 2.
Yes.
Yes, we may want to track the change from the existing districts as well as the change from option 2. So maybe we'll do like a blue line and a red line or something like that. We'll work with Eric on something. Okay.
That's fine as long as we can explain it and so that we understand it. And then for each of those options, then each of the population variations and other issues can be run so that we can see the impact of those changes vis-a-vis population, vis-a-vis minority participation, and so on. Would that be accurate?
Yes, that's accurate.
Okay, so we'll have the analysis of each of those. Are there any other variations on options 1 and 2 that anyone would like to submit at this point? If not, let me move then to item 6 on the agenda, and that would be a more broad discussion of any other options that members of the committee would like to submit, or any other discussion regarding the maps and our data set.
Chairman Lynn?
Yes, Vice Chair. Vice Chair.
Before we go there, would it be possible to request from staff, as they're doing currently, a table that gives us the information in terms of what has been moved from where to where?
I'm getting a head nod, so I think that's certainly possible, Dr. Romero.
Perfect. That would be helpful. Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, Mr. Romero, I think I can't remember if it's actually placed on the web right now, but just before the meeting, I believe we were able to upload to the data tab, so it on our website, so it now says option 1 map, option 1 data, and then option 1 precincts moved, and the same. So there'll be 3 parts of information, 3 pieces of information, and that'll be one of them for all of the maps.
Thank you.
So that same 3-part analysis will be available for each of the options we've talked about. Perfect. Other comments or discussion on item 6? Not hearing anyone seeking recognition. So that then for our next meeting will give us a number of maps to take a look at. As soon as you can get those out, Nicole, we'll have an opportunity then to review them offline so that when we get to future agendas, I'm going to jump to that for a second. We would like a discussion of the committee of those options to see what you're feeling about those and what you think. If we can begin to zero in on one or more of those options to narrow down our discussion, that would be useful. But it will give us some options to consider. Okay. Any further items, any further input on item 6? If not, let's go to item 7, which is a public hearing And in this instance, anyone who wishes to address the committee needed to have made that request known the day before the meeting. Nicole, has anyone asked us to, I know we have some written comments that you disseminated. Is there anyone wishing to address the committee today under item 7?
No, Mr. Chair, there isn't. Would you like Diana to summarize the written comments?
That would be fine if the committee, I think you got those in writing. And they two, I guess all three of them were responding to option 2 and the Quail Creek neighborhood and whether or not that should be moved or not moved. And so I think everybody got those. Did you have any questions about those that Diana could be helpful with? Anything, Diana, you want to add to that?
No, they were pretty straightforward and short. 2 of them
Yeah, they were.
were against the move, and 1 was in support, actually, of option 2.
Yep, exactly. And so we'll try to note if we can, because those came in, whether any of Dr. Lee's changes or my changes affect Quail Creek in some way, so that we can track that. That we've had those comments, and now we should pay some attention as to where Quail Creek ends up in those various maps. Because I don't even know where Quail Creek is, quite honestly. So we'll figure that out as we go. Dr. Lee.
Chairman, thank you. On my option, whatever we choose to call it, option 2, B or C, whatever, A, mine took that Quail Creek area, which I'm assuming is Saurita, because that was the only area in option 2 that went into District 2. My option does not have that. I took that piece out.
Okay. Well, we'll take a look at that when we get the full picture. If in fact Quail Creek is in Saurita, I think my options probably dealt with it as well in some fashion, because I was trying to make Saurita whole or more whole as we were putting the map together. Right now, that entire area is split among 3 districts, which is not necessarily good for representation. So we'll take a look at that. Any other comments going forward on since we don't have a public hearing? Item 8, future agenda items. Is there anything else?
Before you leave that,
yes,
you mentioned your changes, Mr. Chair. Where? I don't have those.
No, I haven't submitted them yet. I apologize, Mr. Hecker. I'm going to submit those this afternoon to staff, and they will disseminate them. Since we're doing a hub and spoke kind of thing, we don't want to violate open meeting law.
I just wanted to be sure I didn't miss something. Thank you.
No. They're not in yet, and you'll get them as soon as I can get them into Nicole. Just for your information, what I think I've done is take option 2, and by moving about 8 precincts as I see them, I think I've gotten the variation on population down to about 0.44, which is pretty good. So we're under 0.5% variation among the districts. So you can take a look at it and see what you think. And I did that very much without regard for whatever political impact might have accrued. And that's something for us to discuss at a future meeting and figure out what we want to do with that. So those will go in today, and you'll get them as soon as staff can get them out to you. Other questions about our future discussions? It seems to me, I'm sorry, is someone wishing recognition?
Mr. Chair, I just had a question
Nicole,
with respect to with respect to the maps that we've given you so far. They don't impact incumbents in Pima Community College or Board of Supervisors districts. If maps do you want to be made aware of that?
What's your pleasure? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we probably should know. The question is what we do with what we know is a different issue. But let's make sure that if any of the maps do affect either incumbents for the board or incumbents for Pima College, because the districts are the same, that we know that we're aware of it in our decision making.
I guess a lot of that depends upon the meaning of the word affects. Whether a change affects an existing elected official.
Well, I guess what I was saying, Mr. Hecker, is if for example, let's take my map for example. If the changes that I'm proposing put a current incumbent in either the Pima board or the county board no longer in the same district they were in before, we should know that.
Yes.
And that's what we're referring to.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to be clear.
Okay, anything else in terms of direction for staff?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Dr. Romero.
I have two questions, and they may be for, I think, Mr. Glenn. As we use the District R and we use the Spotlight tool, it doesn't give us the precinct number. What it gives us is the district with the current year. Is there any way to embed the precinct that we are looking at into the District R so that we don't have to go back to another map to try to figure out what precinct it is we're looking at?
Dr. Romero, unfortunately, I have gone back and forth with the districtor people, basically, and they said no, they cannot do that. So
okay,
I apologize, but at least with that tool that we have, it's not possible.
Okay, no worries, no worries.
Yeah, I think, Dr. Romero, I think that just means we're going to have to go back to the larger map that they sent us.
Yes.
With the precinct numbers on them, and kind of make notes of the ones we're trying to move. And
yeah,
that's sort of how we got our list together. That's how Dr. Lee did hers, and I did mine.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And that's the process I'm using now. I just thought if we could have it embedded and have it right at our fingertips, that would be easier for all of us. The second question I have, and I'm anticipating this is probably a no as well. Is there a better way, rather than the shading of the color blue, to identify parties within particular precincts and districts, party representation? It's another question from Mr. Glenn, I believe.
Yes, Dr. Romero. Again, they are very limited in what they can do, and I do apologize. I asked them to use different colors for different layers, and basically they said this is how we do it, and that was that. So I did tell them that obviously we didn't want, it would have been nice to have R's in red and D's in blue, but since you have it all on one map, they wanted to have kind of that light blue. That, I guess that's their default color that they use. So yes, that cannot be changed either, unfortunately.
Okay, good. All right, now I know. I just, as I said before, I'm just trying to make the data more accessible and manageable in terms of as we're trying to create these things and really assess these things. Just want to make things easier, but I understand where we're at. I appreciate you.
All right. And I guess because they said they can only use one color for all of those, so they chose that purple because it's neither. I mean, they probably should have used, it would have been great if they could have used green or orange or something, but
green would have stuck out a little bit better. It would have given us a better indication. But no, it's fine. That's fine. I do appreciate the asking the question even previously.
Well, obviously that's one of the reasons why, as Mr. Antonori wanted the results from prior elections, at least we get some sense of how each precinct performed in that regard. And so we'll do the best we can. I must say, as someone who did this before with a map software called Maptitude, which is far more sophisticated than the one we're using, and has a lot more detail in terms of every single precinct. This is a bit of a challenge, as you allude to, Dr. Romero, where you have to get 2 or 3 pieces of paper to make it work, but we'll make it work.
No, we're still old schoolers, so that's how we did things in the past. So I don't think it's too far out of our range. But as I said before, I was asking questions and hoping things would be a little easier.
Absolutely, and I was hoping for better answers myself. Very good questions. Okay, anything else for the good of the cause? I don't see any need to hold you all beyond where we are. I think next time that agenda will have a fairly healthy period of time to take a look at some of the maps that have been created and to get a sense of what works, what doesn't, what you think needs to be different, and then maybe Eric in real time, if we're talking about changes to the various maps, can go in there and make those changes and give us a readout of what result occurs when we make the changes that we're looking for. And that would be a useful way of moving forward to try to get to a map that we can all agree to.
Mr. Chair, is there any do we have any idea in terms of how soon your map will be uploaded?
That's up to the staff. They'll have it. It's 4:30 now. They'll have it at 4:40 as soon as this meeting's over. I will send it in to Nicole.
Okay.
And then Nicole, again, it's 8 precincts. It's not wholesale changes. So I suspect that could be done fairly quickly.
Yeah, I asked because I have myself blocked out till 6, and if we can have access to that sometime today, that I could use better use of my time right now.
Well, we'll certainly attempt to do that so that you can do it on the same timeline.
Perfect. And I shouldn't make it sound like I'm being pushy, but no. I do appreciate it. I do appreciate if we can get that as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair and Dr. Romero, I actually have made that. I have made a plan in Districtor, so we can send out the link immediately, kind of like with Dr. Lee's submissions. So you can look at it in Districtor. As far as, like a printed map, we'll have to obviously mail that to you, but.
No, Districtor is perfect, Mr. Glenn. So yeah, whenever we get it and we can get it as soon as possible, that would be great.
Okay.
And I will. That'll be the next thing I do once we adjourn. Ship it in. Mr. Antonori.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I can ask Eric, it would be helpful to me to get a printed map. Is it possible? Are you guys in the office there off of Valencia and Country Club? Is that where you guys are at?
No, actually, we're downtown.
You're downtown. That's fine. I'm in Tucson tomorrow. If you can print me off the current precinct map with the changes that were implemented by the Board of Supervisors just recently, that would be helpful to me. I'm a very visual guy, and I'm trying to keep track of this, so that would be helpful. Is there a way I can swing by and grab one, just print one off on a plotter? It doesn't have to be super high resolution, just enough that I can write on it and put numbers and stuff on there, and that'd be very helpful. Is that possible?
Mr. Antonori, did you not receive a hard copy mailing of the maps already before this meeting?
I got the little 8.5 by 11 one.
No, they were 11 by 17, but we can provide them at larger.
Yeah, I was, the big plot printers that are 36 inches by whatever, how long you want to print it. I was kind of looking, if you had something like that, if you're able to print off on one of those plot printers, a large, like 3 by 4, 3 foot by 4 foot, or 3 foot by 5 foot map. That's kind of what I was looking for.
And just the current board, it's sort of behind me in the current board districts with the updated precincts.
Correct.
Okay. Yes.
Is that something that can be made available to Mr. Antonori tomorrow?
Yeah, I can get it tomorrow. If somebody just tells me, email me the address, I can swing by tomorrow and grab it real quick.
Nicole, is that something that could be provided to us to the committee in general through mail?
Yes, so we can print one. It's about 3 feet by 4 feet and fold it up and mail it to you, or you can stop by and pick it up either way. And I think Eric was the one I have behind me has the old precincts on, so he was in the process of printing a couple for Diana and I anyway, so we can do that.
It's color coded like that?
Yep.
That's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, that helps us.
All right,
us
so
guys out.
Mr. Antonori, you'll pick yours up, and Nicole will mail the others out unless we want to arrange with her to stop by and pick them up as well.
That's fine.
But Mr. Antonori, you'll pick yours up tomorrow.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm in town tomorrow. Yep.
All right. Anything else for the good of the cause this afternoon? If not, we'll meet again next week, and my 8 little precincts will go in within 5 minutes.
And Mr. Chair, we're actually scheduled not to meet till March 23rd unless you would like to add a meeting next week. I was actually going to suggest that maybe we either add another meeting sooner than later or we add to the end of the schedule.
Let me ask this question then. Since the next scheduled meeting is the 23rd, is the committee free to meet next week? I see the vice chair saying yes.
Yes, for me.
Yeah, was that Dr. Lee?
Yes.
Dr. Lee. Mr. Hecker? You're on mute.
That would be next Wednesday?
Next Wednesday, the 9th.
I'm available after 4. So if it's the same time, I'm good.
I would hope it'd be the same time if we could. Mr. Hecker?
Yes.
I'm available.
Yes. I could meet at 4 o'clock.
Okay, so let's notice a meeting for the 9th at 4 o'clock, 4 to 6. Dr. Antonori, Dr. Romero. Sorry.
Appreciate the educational promotion there.
My apologies, but I do have a conflict. That I can't get out of.
For the entire time.
I have a meeting. I have a meeting with folks on the West Coast, on the Bay Area, starting at 5 o'clock till 7:30.
All right, let's move to the 16th.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Is there a way instead to move it up by an hour?
That was going to be my recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Would that help?
3 to 5.
Dr. Romero, would that help you?
Yes, sir, that would.
Yeah, unfortunately, that doesn't work for me.
Doesn't work for you.
No, it's still got the day job.
All right, let's go. Well, Mr. Antonori, I mean, really.
How about Tuesday or Thursday of that week?
This will be interesting. Okay. Let's look at both Tuesday and Thursday, the 15th. Now, the 17th is St. Patrick's Day. I think we ought to meet in person, probably at a pub. But the 15th, take a look at that and see what 4 o'clock on the 15th looks like.
Mr. Chair, can we look at next week instead, Tuesday or Thursday?
We can. The 8th or the 10th?
I'm free, Mr. Chair, both Tuesday at 4 or Thursday at 4.
I am not available on Thursday.
I'm not available on Tuesday.
Okay.
So I just have to clarify, if we go to the following week is spring break for a lot of the schools. And so I just need to double check that so Diana and I have kids and we had sort of planned everybody could have a break that week if that's the problem. I'm trying to think of, is there any other time? Oh, no, we don't want to go earlier on the day on Wednesday.
Well, let's
Chair Lynn, I do have a suggestion. We could just, since Augie has a 5:30 on next Wednesday, we could meet from 4 to 5:30. Would that be
It's a 5 o'clock. I have a 5 o'clock. I'm sorry, 5 to 5 o'clock.
Okay, so
it's
we could
5
meet
o'clock,
from...
and because Mr. Antonori can't move it up, we can't get enough time in. What's that, Nicole? Refresh us. I know we're obligated to meet 5 times minimum. What's our deadline to have a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors?
So April 30th is the deadline that we're working off of, so that the board has 2 meeting dates in May. So, to consider this. So you could, on the other end, like your final meeting so far is scheduled for April 6th, and you could add an April 20th, or, you could add dates after that.
Well, why don't we do that then, members? Since it's difficult to schedule near term, and I certainly understand that with everybody's schedule, let's plan on getting all this material out to us for review, and plan on meeting again on the 23rd, which is already scheduled. And we'll try to do a deep dive, as deep a dive as we can into the various options that we have then. That'll still give us an opportunity to have other permutations or variations submitted for us to look at. And if necessary, then we'll just add a meeting at the back end of the schedule. Is that acceptable to everyone? I see heads shaking.
Yeah. Yes.
That's fine.
Okay. So without objection, we'll do it that way. The next meeting will be the 23rd. But in the interim, if you want to communicate with staff on anything that is given out to you, don't hesitate to communicate with Nicole, and she will make appropriate use of that information and disseminate what's appropriate for us to have before the meeting on the 23rd. Okay? Anything else for the good of the cause this afternoon?
Mr. Chair, if I could, I just would like to thank staff. In the question I had for data, they responded very timely, very thoroughly, very clearly, and I do appreciate their timeliness and their clarity.
I'm sure they appreciate that, and thank you for that comment, Dr. Romero. We don't say that often enough, but for both Nicole and for Diana, the support for the committee has been terrific, and Eric and everyone who's been working with us.
Yes.
So we appreciate that. Thank you for that. Anything else? If not, thank you all very much for your attention and your work, and we're adjourned for today. We'll see you on the 23rd.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.